Hey guys, welcome to my new channel, the Positive Rankings, or for short, the Poor. Speaking of which, I am the Poor, or Cameron if you're nasty. And for my first video, I wanted to do something gaming related, considering I started off with my gaming channel, the Positive Champs. So I figured, what is more eventful in a game than a good old boss battle? Now, a boss battle can be one of the cornerstones to a game. I mean, it can genuinely make or break a game. But when a boss fight is done right, oh boy is it sweet. Now keep in mind, this will be my personal top 10, so we won't have the same list. Hell, you might not have any of the choices that I have. But, with that said, leave your own list below, or tell me what you would have put. One more thing before we start. I will only be doing one boss per franchise, so I can't pick a boss from a main game and a sequel. Also, spoiler alert. Duh. Okay, enough talk. Let's get right into my top 10 boss fights with... Now, I want to start off with one of my favorite franchises of all time, No More Heroes. In a game that has characters such as an old lady with a shopping cart laser cannon, to a goth chick with sniper size, to an alien who fights you with black holes, needless to say these games have a lot of options. But first impressions mean a lot, and so do lasting ones. And with such a menacing monologue, how can't I put him on here? Brother of the guy Travis kills in the No More Heroes trailer, Helter Skelter, this Cloud lookalike is the fight we could have got. He's also an interesting case when it comes to the first bosses. Unlike No More Heroes 1 and 3, where you go through a level that kind of acts as your tutorial, Skelter Helter's fight is your tutorial. You are actively learning the controls as this guy is swinging his laser buster sword at you and blasting you in the skull with his million-round revolver. His fight is fun, albeit a bit easy, but that's to be expected. Although that isn't necessarily why I put him here. It's actually after his fight that is memorable. After he is fully decapitated, his head lands back on his neck and everyone thinks he's dead. But then...
Hey! We're not done yet! I've got a message for you!
He explains the burden that has been lifted off of him and put onto Travis, then goes on a rant that explains how Bishop, basically Travis's only friend, is about to be killed, then simply leaves him with 5 words.
This is the ultimate vengeance!
Wow. It's honestly such a cool first boss, and well deserving to be on this list. It's also funny how he got decapitated like his brother. Now, within the realm of bosses bigger than you, some might think of games like Elden Ring or God of War, where some of them are massive. But I think of a game where every boss is massive. Or should I say, colossal. Picture this. You just watched a cutscene showing how close a lord and his guards are to reaching the Forbidden Lands and stopping you. You ride your way through the desert to an open area, and once you reach the place, this is what you're greeted with. Oh, hell yeah. This is one of the coolest boss openings ever, showing off the pure size of Phalanx. Measuring over 557 feet long and having a wingspan of over 200 feet, it is the largest boss in the game, and that opening scene makes certain you know it. Although this boss isn't too tough, which isn't too shocking considering it never attacks you once in the whole fight, its pure size alone is menacing. Even though this game is full of gigantic creatures, Phalanx is one that is just terrifying to think about. You have to somehow get on this massive flying thing. But how? Well, it's actually quite simple. You shoot its its air sacs, and when it lowers its wings, just hop on and climb. You then run down its back and hit all its sigils. You will likely have to do this twice, but it isn't a tough nor complicated process. After all of that, you officially beat Phalanx. This boss fight is one that sort of makes you feel bad, and really puts into perspective that even though you see these towering beasts ready to kill you, they see what they're doing as self-defense. Phalanx not attacking you at all during this fight certainly emphasizes how much these things just want to live life and go on about their day. So yeah, you beat Phalanx, but it wasn't doing anything wrong, so you're a bad person. Now, I originally didn't want to rank these on a scale of nostalgia. Putting a boss in a spot because I remember them more than a better boss is unfair. But this boss, and especially this game, never left my memory. I don't want to give too much away about what the game is, but I think this might be familiar. Oh, right, the boss. Well, you could say he's one cold motherfucker. I feel like every time I bring up Castle Crashers, this is the boss most people remember, and I believe it to be for good reason. Generally speaking, Frost King is an incredible fun fight, through and through, even if his moves are repetitive. Regardless of this, I enjoy how his fight progressively ramps up in difficulty over time, starting with him popping ice spikes from the ground and laughing in your face as you slip and slide around, to dropping spikes from the ceiling quicker and quicker onto your head. He's also just funny, because he actively stops attacking just to basically make fun of you the entire time. I'm pretty sure just because he can. It sucks when you get frozen and have to move your stick back and forth to get out, because you know damn well you're freaking out. It makes dodging rewarding, if you can even stop sliding long enough to get a hit off. It's a hell of a battle when it's over, and he probably has one of the coolest deaths from the game, even if it is bloodless. This fight really is smashing. Get it? Smashing, because the chest and... never mind. I may have been born after 2000, but doesn't mean I can't appreciate older games. When my dad got a bunch of old Nintendo games on the Switch, it was neither here nor there for me. I wasn't too interested in any of the games. Except one. When I beat it, it was exhilarating, and the final fight was just as much. Since then, for me at least, there hasn't been a more drop the mic moment than dropping the mic. I only fought and beat Mike twice. After the second time, I refused to touch the game again. But I don't need to replay it to tell you how awesome of a final fight it is. Up to this point, you were either even killed with your opponent or the underdog. But up against Mike, who has been taunting the battle since you opened the game, you're more than certainly the underdog. This fight isn't very rewarding, only giving you about 2 hits on the big guy if you somehow manage to dodge his punch. He has no real signs, no tells, he is a boxing machine. But note how I said it isn't very rewarding, instead of not rewarding at all. There is one reward you get in this fight. I'm almost convinced this game can tell the future, because how you beat Mike in Punch-Out is almost similar to why he lost his 1990 match against Douglas. To beat Mike, you just gotta weather the storm. Dodge for the first round, and by the second, he's slower. By the third, he's much slower and tired. Unless you're a speedrun god, this is your best bet. His fight is tough, but fun. Maybe I will one day play it again. It is the closest I will ever get to beating Mike Tyson in a fight. I feel like my humor is an acquired taste, although humor is subjective. Nothing shows how true this is like South Park does. South Park has some questionable games, but two are actually good. Originally, I was gonna pick the Jared Fogle fight from the Fractured But Whole, just because of how absolutely batshit crazy it is. But then I replayed Stick of Truth, and I think I found one I like more. And trust me, I'm super ethereal. Yes, this is exactly what you think it is. You are indeed fighting former Vice President Al Gore. What do you even say to that? Let's not focus on the character, let's focus on the fight. The fight itself is pretty clever. He wears his cape, and all his attacks are climate and political based, which fits him very well. He even has an attack where he tries to put you to sleep with a presentation, which also fits him well and is pretty funny. While the battle itself is good, I mostly love the fight because of how bizarre it is. I mean, this is a game where the kids of South Park play a medieval game involving a stick that lets you control the universe. Well, sprinkle in some aliens and underpants gnomes, but you get the picture. Yet this is what left me scratching my head. In a good way. I mean, he fights you due to the belief that you are a man-bear pig because you didn't respond to him on Facebook. I mean, yeah, I can see where the assumption would arise from. Needless to say, this fight is hilarious and will never cease to get a chuckle out of me. Oh boy, this entry is one reason why I had to mention this was my opinion. I know people enjoy a tough boss, but to say I enjoy this, people will think I'm crazy. Or a robot. Alright, I know this fight is up there with Rumor Honeybottom and Grim Matchstick when considering fights most people dislike, but hear me out. First of all, it's a plane level, and I love plane levels. Is it a biased reasoning? Absolutely. But there is more to it. The fight is great because it does something on accident most bosses do on purpose. Make you feel stupid. How? Well, you know. If you fought the boss, then you know the frustration. But if I think it's difficult, why is it here? Well, I like the challenge. I also love bosses that force you to focus on multiple things at a time. Makes me wonder if that statistic about gamers having better hand-eye coordination is true. I love having to dodge everything to make sure that you're not hit once because you need those lives in the later phases. And it makes you feel so rewarded when you finally beat them and it's all said and done. Even though Dr. Cal's robot lacked a soul, this fight certainly did not. A genre of games that I feel like everyone can enjoy is zombie games. Now in this case, there's a lot of them, but I feel like the Dead Rising series is one of the top ones. I had a few good options, including Dylan in Dead Rising 3 and Slappy or Leon in Dead Rising 2, but replaying the first one, I remembered my favorite boss in the whole series. And trust me, despite his looks, he is definitely no clown act. Adam is terrifying. Just gotta say that. Look, I'm not a big fan of clowns, and especially not ones walking around juggling two chainsaws. The interaction starts when Frank is told about the space ride in the mall seemingly malfunctioning, although when he goes to check it out, It turns out to be Adam keeping it on since he's under the idea that if he does, the zombies will remain at bay. When the battle commences, Adam hits you with all sorts of shit. Chainsaws, throwing knives, fire breath, fucking balloons. This clown is relentless. Damn is he memorable. And so is his soundtrack. Even though the lyrics are near unintelligible, it's still a memorable song. What do I remember most? I feel like I gotta show you rather than tell you. Yeah, so I guess he isn't clowning around anymore. But no, that was pretty nasty. Now, I know what I'm about to say might get me some flack, but I only played one Dark Souls game. Please, I'm sorry. Anyways, the game I played was Dark Souls 3. Due to this, I'm sure I'm missing out on cool bosses, but from the game I played, I was stuck between two. I just couldn't decide. But then I remembered, I can just put them together. After all, you do fight them at the same time. This boss fight is awesome from the opening alone, but I got a few more good reasons why I love this boss fight. First off, their design is just incredible. Picture this, Lorien, this imposing figure with his brother Lothric literally riding on his back, all set in this beautifully eerie area. It's visually stunning. But that's not the only remarkable thing. The fight itself is no walk in the park. You've got Lorien teleporting around, Lothric casting spells from a distance, then they switch up their attacks as the battle progresses. It keeps you on your toes. It makes every hit you land feel hard-earned. Another factor to consider is the soundtrack. It's just sort of orchestral beauty, yet it's eerie and unsettling at points. It emphasizes the seriousness of the fight they're commenced in. The series of rises and falls only adding to what an intense battle this is. If I had the time, I could talk about Lothric and Lorien all day, but they have a lot of lore, and I got 2 more boss fights to get to. But the bottom line remains that I adore this fight, and if I have 2 sons, I will name them Lothric and Lorien. Actually, that sounds like a pretty terrible idea. Another game I absolutely adore is The Binding of Isaac. I played it back when it was a small, vanilla indie game, but with every DLC, the game kept getting better. With one of the newest DLCs, we got what I believe to be one of the coolest bosses in the game, and my number 2 best boss fight. Dogma is one of the few bosses that makes me feel a type of way emotionally. Visually, Dogma makes a powerful impression with its stark and symbolic design, especially in its second phase. In its first phase, it's simply a baby figure connected to a K3vy and umbilical cord, both of which are kind of engulfed in static. In its second phase, however, as a celestial figure with angelic wings and a divine aura, Dogma exudes an eerie beauty that contrasts sharply with its aggressive and relentless attacks. Beyond visuals, the fight itself is truly an experience. It's the usual bullet hell, but feels more fresh than that of Delirium or Hush. And while all of that is cool, there's one main factor that makes me enjoy this boss. Beyond the gameplay, visual design, Dogma holds profound narrative weight within the context of The Binding of Isaac. As the final obstacle in Isaac's quest for redemption, defeating Dogma represents more than just overcoming a formidable adversary. It symbolizes Isaac's triumph over his inner demon and the accumulation of his spiritual and psychological journey. The boss's thematic depth extends beyond its role as a gameplay challenge. resonating with players on an emotional level as they navigate Isaac's complex narrative arc of guilt, salvation, and self-discovery. I know that was a lot, but it was the best way to describe how awesome this boss is. I know my list may be debatable, but this will be in my top 3 forever. You will never see me turn the channel as long as this fight is on. Well, here we are. Throughout this whole list, we've seen a variety of bosses. Funny ones, scary ones. But when I looked outside this morning, it made me think about which boss I wanted at number 1. I saw birds singing and flowers blooming. Then it dawned on me. What do you get when you take a funny character, then turn him into one of the most technically difficult battles to move across millions of computer screens? Well, you get one of the best final bosses ever, and my personal number 1 pick. I love this fight so much that I can't describe it properly. I have done so many playthroughs of Undertale, but only did one genocide, which was the one I beat Sans on, and oh god, was it a doozy. First of all, he is probably one of the most recognizable monologues in gaming history, with the words "on days like this, kids like you should be burning in hell" engraved in the memory of any Undertale player. He's no pushover. Despite Sans' lazy demeanor, he is remarkably tough. He hits you with lasers, bones, the blue bones come into play again. He pulls out all the stops for you, even being the only enemy in the game who can dodge your attacks. Although the fight is the best in all of Undertale, the story it tells is almost heartbreaking. Sans is the last line of defense against you and Asgore, but also the 6 human souls. He's been watching you all game. He knows what you've done, he knows who you've hurt, he knows you've killed all his friends, and yet all he wants to do is stop you from hurting anyone else. That's all he can do. Up until his dying moment, he only wants to keep you from moving forward. But as he bleeds out, he musters the strength to crack one more joke. It's devastating watching him slowly move off the screen, but he does manage to say his final words. While he's dying, his last thought is of his brother, who, may I remind you, he watched you kill. So yeah, this fight isn't just eventful, it's an emotional roller coaster. And if you go for this fight, I wish you luck. But whatever you do, don't get dunked on. Well, there you have it, folks. My top 10 boss fights. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I'll be pumping out more content, but until then, check out my gaming channel, The Pog's Champs. Or, well, now it's The Pog, but whatever. Link in the description. Okay. See y'all next time. Later.